Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Love of Business podcast at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. My name is Maria Minko Faith, and I will be your host today. I'm a writer, podcaster, wellness advocate, and three-time survivor, and it's my pleasure to introduce Taleen Sofee, an empowerment coach and influencer in the world of women's wellness. Welcome, Taleen.
Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you and hear more about what you're doing. So can you tell us a little bit about your business?
Absolutely. So like you had mentioned, I'm the women's empowerment coach and also co-author of Selftalk, 33 Levels of Self-Improvement. I work with women in empowering them to find their personal power, allowing them to grow out of their old stories that they've continued to live and to find that self-love in the journey with their vulnerability and authenticity of just being themselves. So that is my business of coaching, healing, serving, and just showing up with my light and my story and helping these women go through their journey. So, yeah.
It's just amazing that you're here today, because even in my own life, I keep seeing these self-love messages coming up, and that's been a cornerstone of my own personal practice as well. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got into business, helping women?
Absolutely. So my background is in psychology, and I thought at one point that I wanted to be a psychologist. However, that ventured off into the world of beauty, working for L'Oreal for about 5 years and with sales and marketing. And in 2014 is when I had my epiphany, my aha moment, when I decided to leave my career as a saleswoman and venture into the world of wellness. I always loved and was inquisitive about wellness and just different modalities and just applying those to my own life. But opening up a wellness center was a big quantum leap for me. I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that spirit and was sharing a message with me, and I just wanted to jump in the deep end and do it all. So I did. I opened up a 4,000 square foot wellness center out here in Henderson, Nevada. And it was to just allow the space where women could walk in and find their peace and a temple and a place to belong. And I realized shortly after that the space that I had created needed to be created within myself as well. So that took me on a whole journey where I ended up actually closing the brick and mortar, but I continued my journey all the way up until right now. And through the years, I've just studied, learned, applied, researched, and just gone deeper and deeper into the world of wellness, and realizing that working with women was where I felt empowered, because I could share my vulnerability and my story and my own testimony of, it doesn't matter what limitation you're born into. It just matters that you have the willingness to create that new path, that new story, and be okay with, how everything around you, people, places, things, if they fall away, it's okay. And that goes back into how I'm a huge advocate for self-love, because everything starts within. So even the self, empowerment coach is the way I've written it is IN. So everything is going through an inward journey, and then it becomes a reflection to the outside. And so I've created, coaching, 12-week coaching with women. I have a 6-week online program. I do one-on-one coaching. I do some energy healing work. So it all just became a blend of everything, where each one is custom tailored to each client that I work with. So one size fits all, that doesn't work. So it's
Right.
making it unique to each person and how it can benefit them, and incorporating all, again, the lessons and the life journey that I've been on. But along the way, as I shared with you earlier, is I have learned so much from these women as well. So it's a give and take. So it's the ebb and flow of life, staying, with the vibration and the rhythm of what is. So, yep.
Yeah, that's really important. What you just said about staying with the vibration of what is, I
Mm-hmm.
think that connects a lot to what we were talking about earlier as well about emotions,
Yes.
and that we have to deal with the stored emotions. And in society, there's so much that message, like don't listen to your emotions, don't go
Mm-hmm.
by your feelings, and I feel like that's really misleading.
Yes, you hit the nail on the head. And that's another thing. Um, the way I specialize my work is I work with all four quadrants. So mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And I think by doing that, you uncover a lot of different layers that people are told and conditioned to believe that, again, don't show your emotion. That's weakness. Don't be vulnerable. There's something wrong with you, whatever it is that's said. And that goes back into the co-authored book, Self-Talk, is how are we conditioned, whose thoughts and whose beliefs is instilled within our programs, our blueprints, who said what to us. And that little voice now tells you and programs you to believe that it's not okay to feel. Feelings are actually the most beautiful thing. And I always share with my clients is whatever feeling and emotion you have, sit with it. Ask if it even belongs to you. If it doesn't
Mm.
belong to you, then it'll just dissipate out. A lot of us stay in resistance and we're constantly struggling and fighting with, feeling angry, frustrated, hopeless, depressed, whatever all these words are, they hold a frequency and vibration to it. So all you're doing is you're tuning yourself to that vibration and living through that. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. You could just sit with it and allow it to give you the lesson if it belongs to you. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I was looking at your bio that you sent me, and I
Mm-hmm.
love the author, coach, mother, speaker
Mm-hmm.
triangle.
Yes.
Uh, so
Everything is single.
how do you balance everything?
I know, right? When you look at
Yeah.
that, you're like, how do you do all that? And we have another one on the way in September. So,
Oh, congratulations.
yeah, thank you. I think it's just all honestly divinely, just orchestrated in that way that when I'm able to serve, I have the greatest support. I have the greatest partner who helps with carrying that weight while I'm serving, as I do for him as he's serving. And, we find our free time. We either wake up early, we go to sleep later, and we just apply our time and skills, so it's to the benefit. And if you need to rest, then you rest as well too. So we definitely, don't take ourselves to the point of like exhaustion, but I need to be able to, the biggest thing for me is being outside as well too. So when I ground and I connect to nature, even though it's super, super hot. So when I find those really cool days, you better believe I'm outside putting my feet in the grass and just absorbing all the energies from nature, because it really brings me balance. That's one of my biggest things is being around water and also being out in nature. And I just feel that, applying all those things, everything just fits in coordination. There's never a stress factor. There's never anything that I'm resisting. And if I know it's too much on my schedule, then I just won't say yes to it. So,
That's really great.
yeah,
I think you mentioned something about alignment, or at least
yeah,
that seems like the
yeah,
direction that you go. And I know that when we're in alignment, we can balance so much more because, like you
yeah.
said, it's divinely orchestrated.
Yeah, you become in harmony with, just like in nature, everything is harmonized, and If you could just listen to your body, your mind, your emotions, whatever it is that's coming up in that moment, and just allow it to flow, again, without being in resistance, then everything just works out. There's no push and pull and forcing and, committing to things. And I used to be big with that. I used to commit to things that I really either didn't feel connected to, and that was the biggest thing, or I would just show up just to show up and please other people and make sure everybody else had a smile, but I wasn't happy. So again, I just started to listen to myself, and everything from serving clients to doing my online courses to, doing podcasts, everything, being a mother, being a partner, all of it just works out without feeling the stress of it. So
Nice. Nice. That's a good message for all of us to.
I have to live by example. If
Yes,
that's the
yes.
message I'm sharing, then I have to implement that. And, I always say life in alignment, because I do a lot of like quantum therapy, which I'm the only one in the state of Nevada that does that, modality, where you just have to harmonize. Again, you have to be able to show up in that frequency that you would like things to be drawn back to you. So
Right. And with relationships, it's the same thing. It's being tuned to the frequency of how you want to show up in life.
absolutely.
And those people who are in harmony with that frequency will show up.
Yes.
And it's when we don't know.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is, I think people are in fear of being alone, but being alone, that's all you have, is you only have yourself. You have no control over anybody else in your life, regardless of what their role is in your life, child, parent, sibling, friends. You only, at the end of the day, have yourself. But if people just can let go and allow that, like you said, it'll just happen. You'll be attracted and connect to the people that's in your soul tribe. And even if it's just one person, then it's just one person. So quality over quantity.
Right. And it's always one person at a time.
Yes.
Even if it's many people, we each are individuals, and we have to celebrate our uniqueness.
Yes. Just like my programs and everything is custom tailored to the uniqueness of each individual woman. So I can't just create something and think it's going to fit into everyone's, lifestyle or agenda. It's really custom tailoring it to, benefit that woman. So
that's beautiful. I also know that you've co-founded Citizen Circle. I love that play on words. The Zen. Can you tell us a little about that?
Literally, that's my license plate, Zen Boss.
Oh, I love it.
So Citizen Circle, again, was co-founded with my partner, and it's really just to help these young girls, in middle school and into high school, to create a 7-week program where we implement things that they can look inward, self-reflect. That's, I think, the age period before 0 to 7, where everything is, you're the sponge, is when a lot of these young girls are lost. They either don't have a connection to their mother, they don't have a role model. A lot of the social media and everything that is being thrown at us, thank goodness I didn't have that when I was growing up, because there's a lot of confusion, and you think you need to be a certain way and talk about wearing a mask and making up things. And we talk about, applying makeup and how you dress and how you show up and how you speak and, what you are doing in order to please, having a boyfriend, all these things, where it's like we go through a journey with them, sharing with them, and they start opening up, talking about their emotions and, their support or lack of support, all of that. So, yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't do that last year because schools were shut down, but we'd love to implement that in some middle schools and, create that where it's just a after school program. And it's just a life skills class. And I think it should actually be a part of school, teaching and sharing, not just a class talking about, adolescence. Is like, what skills can you have as a young lady, growing into the woman that you are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I know we don't talk enough about the importance of connection. Um, it's because I think it requires us to slow down and really feel the present moment and feel.
Connection, self-love before you can love another. Again, it goes into the love languages as well. Like, what is your love language, and how do you receive love versus how do you give love? And how were you raised, in what type of household? How did you receive love? And is that the way that you like to be, acknowledged? And I think that's where a lot of young ladies like go down the wrong path, is because they're told by social media and the outside world what to look like, how to act, what to be. And they know deep down inside that's not resonating. That's not in alignment with who they really are. Or if what they are, they're lost. They don't even know who they are. And so connection to them means intimacy very early on, before they should even think about anything like that. So it just goes layer by layer by layer.
And part of self-love is really knowing your own boundaries too, which takes self-discovery.
Huge. Boundaries are huge. They always talk about healthy boundaries, but what is a healthy boundary? It's, knowing your yeses and nos, and that goes into, again, what we discussed earlier, is the people pleasing. But all of this is, the root of it starts from actually in the womb, the third trimester, when the mother is in the pregnancy, and whatever it is that she's feeling, she is passing this down into her child energetically. And when this child is born, from 0 to 7 is like a sponge, and whatever it is that they're, taking on, whether it's beliefs, the way they speak, all of it, everything holds a vibration, and that turns into, how you are in the adolescence, and then young, in your 20s, but it connects to your inner child. A lot of people talk about the little you, and then it goes into the outer child. Well, a lot of people don't talk about. So the inner child is the one that feels everything. The outer child is the one that actually is the one that throws the tantrums, is the one that has you do the things that are not right. And the adult is the one trying to parent both. So, and that's the course that I have, the 6-week course that goes in detail and much more in depth about what is your inner child, what, welcoming your outer child, exposing your outer child, learning more about your adult self, and then how do we apply different skills and ways of living so that you can catch it and you're not learning, to live in those broken cycles over and over and over. Because you may have a different place you move to, different friends, different work environment, but if that is your programming, you will continue to create the same chaos in your life over and over.
That's for sure. There's some unlearning to be done.
Yes, I always say that. I always say, learn, what is it? Part of knowing yourself is unknowing yourself.
Yes,
So
yes.
like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, just think about what I'm saying. Like, you have to unlearn, because it's not your programming.
Right. I started, several years back asking myself, like, why do I think that about certain things? And it was very interesting. It took me on quite a journey of, discovering that some things that I was like clinging to were not even mine.
Yes, this goes into the book, Selftalk.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Whose voice is talking? Who is that in my head? Is it my mother? Is it my father? And usually women have mother wounding, so it will be the voice of the mother. Or if it's been something that's, the father not, showing up and showing the love and care. So that's the voice. There's, for me, it was always my mother's voice in my head. And I'm like, no, that's not me. Stop, Don't think that way. That's not you. That's not your thoughts. So, but yeah, this is self-talk, like how do you talk to yourself? What we have 33 levels of ascension where, there's a quote in there, there's a question in there that we ask. And it's just like, for instance, it's like just a short little paragraph talking about, like, I'm on faith right now, actually. Interesting.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Faith.
Yes.
And having the faith that you can change your circumstances is really huge,
Yeah.
Like I have faith in my name and,
Yeah, you do. Oh my gosh, and I open to faith. See, that's divine. I'm telling you.
divine orchestration. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're like, hey, I have faith in my name.
Yeah, so it's a good reminder for me always to have faith that I can change and that I can create a new experience for myself. And being a 3-time survivor,
Yeah.
I've had to do that, repeatedly, walking away from everything that I knew and starting over, and it just goes deeper and deeper.
And change is the only constant thing. And in this book, it's interesting you're talking about, because in this book, we talk about the 4 seasons. So again, the elements of life, right? And how you could be in the summer season and thriving. And then the next minute you're, in the fall season. And like you just said, I needed a change. So I'm releasing everything and not connecting with attachment, feeling like this makes me, you make you. And everything else is just an extension of you. And if that extension is not serving you anymore, then let it go,
Right.
And that's the hardest part, I think, for people, is letting it go, especially if it's like family or friends or a job, because they feel so connected to it for some reason. And they don't want to disappoint anyone else. But the whole time they're abandoning themselves. They're disappointing themselves. So they're doing everything towards themselves, and they're not realizing that they are. So
Yeah, it reminds me of this quote I saw the other day on Facebook, and it was by Jeff Brown. I think his book Articulations. I'm not for sure, but he said, "Please others only if it pleases yourself."
exactly, because it starts with self. And if you have that unconditional love for self, you will have those healthy boundaries. You will make choices that are in benefit for you first. And that people are taught that that's a selfish thing, and that is so not selfish. Selfish is just, fishing for yourself, literally. So it's like, if you just take words, and even with the word depression, I hear it so often. I'm depressed. And I said, flip the word around, move the letters. I pressed on.
Nice.
So it's like everything comes with a different vibration. It's just, how are you choosing to implement that word and that thought, that belief, all of it. And then you become, because we're 70 to 80% water, you become that vibration. Your body, your cells don't know any different. If it's happened to you, if it's happening to you, or if it's going to happen, your central nervous system goes into fight or flight. That goes back into psychology, and your whole system starts shutting down. Then you start feeling the symptoms of things. So I don't work with symptoms, I work with the root cause. Okay, that's the symptom. How do we get to the root cause? And again, it always stems back into the inner child, self-love, feeling abandoned, feeling whatever word, that they resonate with. But abandonment is one of the biggest ones.
Wow. Yeah.
So,
gosh, and abandoning ourselves is is a big one.
people do that daily. I mean, even it's as simple as if someone asks you to go to lunch and you're like, I really don't want to go, but you go. So you're abandoning yourself to be where you really want to be, rather than showing up and accommodating to somebody else.
Right.
So a lot of women do that in relationships. I was one of them. I stayed in a broken relationship for many years because I had a son with this person, and, I did not want, it was like I was trying to create a circumstance that was benefiting him and my son rather than myself. And I was thinking,
yeah.
and I was saying, it's okay. Mother sacrificed. So whose belief was that? That wasn't mine. So I'm like, you know, so again, it goes back into our stories and what we tell ourselves. It can be rewritten, it can be unlearned. And the subconscious is 95% of our thinking, 5% is our conscious thinking. That's why it takes so long to shift our train of thought, is because the subconscious becomes reprogrammed when you're sleeping. That's why they always say put anything that you want to relearn at night when you're sleeping, not during the day. During the day is like you're just on autopilot. And that 5% is that conscious brain that comes in and says, hey, that little voice, like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know? And you're like, oh, let me wake up out of this dream state. I was just like on autopilot, or living somebody else's belief, you know, accommodating to somebody else. So
yeah, wow. Well, we're out of time actually, but I want to make sure that everyone can know where to find you and your book.
Absolutely. So you could just go to my website, TaleenSofee.com. That's my website, and it has a list of services, and it has more information about me and my background. And then the book, you could just find it at selftalkbook.com. So it could be purchased there. It's on audio, hardcover, and you know, paperback. So everything is on there.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Taleen. That was really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you, everyone, for watching The Love of Business. Do stay tuned for more great shows at prconnections.com, the voice of new media.
Thank you again.
My pleasure. You're welcome.